Just over 15 minutes to 11 o'clock is the Freedom Square show. My name is Menga, having stepped in for Sipo Zek Masiho. Played you an ANC song, Solomon Mahlangu, just celebrating where we come from. Now, I'm pretty much excited or pretty much happy that in studio we're joined by the ANC Greater Johannesburg chairperson, Jeff Makhubo. Welcome to 1912.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here in your new studios. I haven't been here before.
Yeah.
Enjoying the song Solomon Mahlangu, our hero, the hero of the young people, the hero of the South African struggle. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Have you enjoyed the team seeing the new faces and everybody?
I've enjoyed the old and the new faces. Some of them very old, some of them old, some of them very new.
Now, excited. When we look at just the politics in terms of what has been happening in Johannesburg in the past 2 weeks, a lot of changes has been happening, starting with, now we can call him the former mayor of the city, Ahmed Mashaba. Just what has been your take with the changes, or what has been happening in the politics in Joburg?
He's not resigned. He's threatened. He's given a notice to resign. I think he's one of the first or the very few politicians who give notice to say I'll resign in a month's time because I want to cut ribbons. I want to. In my mind, is now going through a phase of withdrawal symptoms, because in politics you don't be absolute. You don't say if X, Y, and Z wins the conference, I'll resign. It shows immaturity in politics. But in any case, what happens in the Democratic Alliance only concerns us insofar as it affects the people of Johannesburg. What for us was and has been a key issue is that we wanted him gone anyway, which is why we had proposed a motion of no confidence against him. We did say that he's not fit to govern. We did say that he does not have the wherewithal, the necessary gravitas to govern a city, a world-class African city like Johannesburg. Johannesburg is ranked amongst the best cities in the world. And one of the first things he did was to take Johannesburg out of the international community of cities. We played a leading role in the cities in Johannesburg. For Comrade Pakstow to be elected the president of the United Cities and Local Governments in the World, which is the Association of Local Governments in the World, meant that Johannesburg has produced leaders before. Ntate Masondo before was the deputy president of UCLG, United Cities and Local Government in Africa. And the chairperson of Salga, chairperson of the South African Cities Network. So Joburg has been recognized. Now, we realize that under Ahmed Mashaba, Johannesburg is not going anywhere. It's very insular. And insular as it being, it's not even improving anything.
And also, not to cut you off, and also when you look at the fact that it was coming to 3 years of him in power, and there were issues around also looking at the finance of the city, to say the city was struggling. What were some of the challenges that you felt that happened under or during his tenure, and you feel that as the ANC, that was not supposed to be done?
You see, issues like finance are just a result of somebody not knowing what to do. You know, when you deplete finance, it's a symptom. So what I was describing to you before was really the cause, because when you run a city, you must have a vision. You must say, what am I negating? So because we in the ANC come from a school of thought, we know that you don't go into a struggle to be you're negating something that's not good for the people, and you become pro something. So we had a vision called the GDS, the Growth and Development Strategy 2040. That sought to change Johannesburg into a livable city, a sustainable city, a city where all is welcome and people can work, live and play. So always, and to do that, there are certain things you need the certain basics you need to have. First, you must be financially sustainable. You must have the necessary resources because you need to build a resilient city, a sustainable city, a livable city. So you need to have the finances. So the finances are not finances for their own sake, but they are to achieve a particular objective. To do that, you need to build inclusivity. So you need to build what you call an integrated, a compact, an efficient city. So things like a BRT, you know, there's a reason why BRT goes down Louis. Yeah. The initial plan of BRT was to go down Oxford Road. Now the reason for BRT to start in Soweto, a big interchange in Togoza Park, and then phase 1A comes through Soweto past FNB. Phase 1B comes from Soweto. It calls Empire Path. It passes hospitals, Helen Joseph, and it ends here at Charlotte Macleck. It passes UJ, it passes Vets. Now, and it goes into the inner city. Yeah. The reason is to link educational institutions, health facilities, with our people who did not have access to those facilities. In fact, the first hospital is Raima Musa Mother and Child Hospital. Yeah. There is philosophy, there's reasoning. The third one goes to Sentin, but it passes Alex. So there was Watt Street interchange in Alex, a bridge over Weinberg into Alex. Now let me tell you, the highest concentration of people in Johannesburg, you find them in Soweto. The highest concentration of infrastructure in Johannesburg, you find in the inner cities. The highest concentration of money in Johannesburg, you find in Sentin. How best to link the three?
Yeah, and when you're talking about that, there were also programs under the ANC administration, especially when you're talking about Soweto, that were benefiting residents or people from Soweto, Jozi Ekberg, and such programs. A lot of people don't understand what then happened to those programs. And now going forward, what's the ANC stand on such programs?
Just to conclude, when we called those corridors of freedom, we wanted to free our people from a disintegrated city. Yeah. Now, the ANC government had what we call 9 priorities. One of them was financial sustainability. The second one was to do with resource resilience, to say water and electricity must be available, it must be resilient. The third would be active citizenry. Now with active citizenry, we then thought what is the best way to deliver services in Johannesburg? You see this thing called service delivery. Means where a truck comes, delivers something, leaves, and there's no ownership of that service. Yeah. Then we thought of a different way. We called it mutual co-production, where we co-produce services together with our communities, and they get paid for it. So we termed that service Jozi at Work. So what it meant is that if you live in Alexander, between Alfred Nzo and Vasco, you get a group of young people who do waste management. So their job is not just to collect dirt or waste, but is to keep the place clean. So what it meant is that pick it up would have to change. The cars that they send to the township would not be the same cars or the same trucks that take 240-liter bins. There'll be the trucks that now carry waste that has been separated, recyclables, your tins and all that, compost, and the ones that goes to landfill site. So that Jozi at Work means that young people and women and other people in the communities can club themselves and deliver services that were supposed to be done by the local municipality, and the municipality then pays them for it. But because they are close to their locality, the quality of service is improved. It's done by them. They can own it, and they keep the area clean, and they get paid for it. Yeah. So we called it Jozi at Work because we said Jozi then will be at work. People of Jozi will be at work. Then the outgoing executive mayor of Johannesburg decided for its Parkstow's pet project, and that is going to cancel that thing, which we think it's a safe change.
Is it right now, even when you look at the city is also very dead because it looks like not much has been done also.
Not true. The part of the thing to deal with waste removal, to deal with waste management, was to say, but communities need to take ownership of the cleanliness of the city, not waste management. You know why a department of health is not called a department of disease.
Yeah.
It's because you want to prevent disease from happening, for you to be healthy. That's why it's department of health. For us, it was about waste management, not to collect waste, but how do you prevent the city from, how do you manage waste in such Mashaba, unfortunately, and I don't want to be referring to him and make him a hero because he's not, what reversed all these things that Comrade Park started. I mean, I can tell you the second program that Comrade Park started. Part of the problem in our own localities is that we are fighting poverty. Poor people spend most of their income, about 70% of their income, on transport and food. And it makes sense. Where do you find poor people in Johannesburg? You find them in Orange Farm, you find them in Ivory Park. Where do they work? If they do work at all, they work in Johannesburg.
In the city.
They take the longest time and they pay the most expensive to come to the inner city. And that's a proportion of their income because they earn less. The majority goes to transport and food. I live in Meredale. There's a Sasco bakery next to where I live. And I can tell you, bread where I live and bread in Orange Farm are different because I don't have transport costs because bread is produced there. So I live near town, I live near facilities. So in order to respond to that, we started what we call community bakeries. So we formed cooperatives, healthy bread, to say we're not only dealing with price, you're not only breaking the monopoly, radical economic transformation, monopoly of the bread producers. You want bread production in the locality, and then people will make money in that locality, and the amount of bread produced will be able to feed a society there.
Yeah.
He arrived, Hemen Mashaba. What did he do? Cancelled.
I mean, it's been more than almost a week now since he had obviously stated that he's just serving his last month. And the ANC would like to believe. Have you had the opportunity to sit down and now discuss in terms of what's the way forward right now? When you look at the future of Johannesburg, what's the future of the city?
We had a plan for the city. When we proposed the motion of no confidence, already we had thought about what to do with the city. Part of our plan for the city now is what we call improvement of the daily experiences of the citizen of Johannesburg. How do you the city on a daily basis that makes you feeling very positive about the city of Johannesburg? And I can tell you one of the things. If you come in the morning and robots do not work, you get very grumpy because you get stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
You might not realize it, but you get very angry and get very grumpy. And you start blaming the city is not working, but in politics, and maybe we should teach him that people engage with government at the point of failure. Generally, you go to government when you need a passport, when you want a hospital, when you want the ID. You engage with government when you need it. If you don't need it, you just go on with your life. Now, it's working. You don't even think about it already. Government is there, it's working. But your feeling about the city is good. But if things do not work, like they don't work now, no closing potholes, there's no reliable supply of water, no reliable supply of electricity. I mean, go to Fontaine, you got them not had water for a while. Generally, then people start getting grumpy. That's what the ANC needs to focus on. That's what the ANC wants to improve. That's what the ANC will focus on.
I mean, is it too early to be saying that? Is actually the ANC in a position where it could easily get the power back of Johannesburg?
I think the word easily is not correct.
Yeah.
But the ANC in Johannesburg is working very hard to work with other parties to govern the city of Johannesburg for the benefit of the citizens of Johannesburg. I think the way the question is phrased, do you want to gain power back? It's really how do you get back to the position of governance so that you can pursue radical policies, radical economic transformation, radical socio-economic transformation, and do what a city transformation, an urban city, that attracts Bolofuno
from Venda.
It attracts them into the city. How do you make the city a home for Lofuno? And other Lofunos will be coming after her. They're gonna come.
Yeah.
How do you make it? How do you build a city for the future? A compact city. It's got work. People can work, people can play, and people can live.
Yeah. And also your take on, people are saying that maybe South Africa is getting to that position where cohesion government might be the way.
I think people who do not have hope that they'll govern alone, that's why they are dreaming about coalition government being the future. I mean, which self-respecting party plans sits and say, hey, I'm planning for coalitions? A political party exists for power. That's what you exist for. You exist for power and influence over society. So yes, there might be areas where power, voting patterns change, but I don't think that we will live in coalition governments. In fact, I wish and I hope we don't, because countries that Israel, for instance, every 18 months, they are not stable. Greece, Syriza, they've been in the last 4 years, they probably had 3 general elections. Look at what's happening with the Brexit issue in London, in England.
Yeah. Okay.
They can't even, because there's no cohesive party that's leading. So coalitions, you can't be wishing that you must manage the country through patching. If one party can sell its ideas, and there's an alternative party that can sell its ideas to the electorate, then I think our body politic must be questioned. So I don't think that we'll be moving to coalitions. I think that there's ups and downs for parties, but there is no party big enough to challenge the ANC at the moment. The ANC had its own downs. We had our own problems in 2016. We've turned the corner, and we believe that in 2021, we're going to build on the gains of 2019, and we're going to do much better. The D8 has not even risen, but it's self-destructing. So, I mean, we don't have to...
That's what was going, because if you look in the past 2 years, and you look at ever since the ANC lost power around 2016, but you look at the by-elections, the ANC seem to be winning. Otherwise, does it mean that now the ANC has identified what was the problem, cleansed those problems, and now they're going back to the grassroots, which is going back to the people?
Yes, the electorate will tell you a story. In 2016, when you look at the actual numbers, the DA did not grow, the EFF did not grow compared to the previous elections before 2016. The ANC declined. Our voters stayed at home. So we had to... Why did you stay at home? What happened? They told us what they were unhappy with. Majority of them came back, not all of them. Others still stayed at home now in May. Now our task now is to go consolidate those who come back, and then go to those who did not vote now in 2019, and then talk to them. There are things they were unhappy with, and we can't hide it. Were things like corruption. Corruption was uppermost in the minds of the people. Services, some of the services they were not happy with. There are national issues that they were not happy with. We went to Nazareth, we cleansed ourselves, we came back, we went to our own regional conference, we confronted the issues, or not the issues that affected us to perform badly, and we think we are on the right trajectory now. We are cleansing ourselves.
Because also when you look at some of the miscommunications that has been coming out, I mean, you look at maybe issues around e-tolls. There was a time when National came out saying that, it would be a bad idea to scrap the whole e-tolls. There's debt that needs to be paid. But then the premier of Gauteng then came out to say, no, e-tolls is not the way to go. So that's when then one asked questions to say, have then the ANC went down, set back, iron what needed to be ironed to also avoid issues around mixed messaging going forward as well?
True. I mean, we pressed upon the province and national that they must have one message. They must, we must come to one determination. And then the issue is, and then maybe we need to correct our lexicon. It's around urban tolling. E-tolling is a collection method. It's either you're collecting Kai or when you go to Limpopo, you stop Kopumlani and Transcorp and all that. But e-tolling means that you don't have to stop. It's actually you're paying electronically. It's electronic collection. But the issue is urban tolling. Why are we being told inside the urban area, not on the main arterial. So that's really the discussion. And we feel that urban tolling increases the cost of living internally. Urban tolling is a bit expensive. So myself, I was in that conference of Gauteng where we said we don't want e-tolls. We call them e-tolls, but we don't want urban tolling. Because it's an urban environment, and you don't want internal urban tolling. We think that we can find a better way of maintaining roads that because they facilitate economy in an urban area. And Joburg is about the only one that's got urban tolls. You go to Cape Town, there's nothing. You go to Durban, it's only as you leave towards the south of Joburg, the north of Durban that you get the e-tolls. So we don't want them, and I'm with my premier there that e-tolls must fall.
Yeah, and also just coming back to you, and also as the chair of the ANC, and one of the questions that was posed, and I feel like I should take it to you, is then the question that then asked to say, how much time do you still have as the chairman? Unfortunately, that one was not supposed to be going to you. They were asking me how much time you still have in the studio, so I thought that it was a question that was coming to me. But let's leave it for another day. But then let's look at, before we close it off, let's also look at issues around, minimum wages and everything. Sorry, can we get back to this and let's look at issues around your minimum wages, and if there's been conversation about that. So how far are we with dealing with issues around minimum wages?
Now, South Africa has adopted that policy framework and legislation, and I agree with it, that there must be decent work and minimum wages. We're dealing in the city of Johannesburg now with, do you insource, don't you insource, how do you get people to have livable salaries and all that, living wage. And we're implementing it. When we left the city of Johannesburg, the lowest paid employee in the city of Johannesburg was paid 6,800 rands. Herman Mashaba just posted now that he sourced worker cleaners. They're being paid 4,500. And then he says we were exploiting workers. And let me tell you, it's about ideology. We knew what mix we were doing. So minimum wage, yes, I believe in it.
Yeah. And now, just your last words, just talking to the people, what message can you give to the residents of Johannesburg?
The African National Congress is the only party, only reliable party that can change the lives of the people, transform South Africa, transform Gauteng, transform Johannesburg into a Johannesburg of the future, a Johannesburg that is sustainable, that is livable, a Johannesburg that's resilient, and by resilience we meaning it must be resilient to even changing weather patterns. It must be resilient to us coming from the northwest, coming from Limpopo, coming from wherever. So it must be able to withhold migration. And it must be a cosmopolitan city that grows like every other city in the world. By the way, great cities have got lots of migrants. Yeah. New York, Washington, Rio de Janeiro, Paris, Rome, Johannesburg, Cape Town. You cannot behave in a populist manner like the guy that I said I'm not going to mention his name again. Yeah. Because that's how cities grow. That's how you grow your population and consumer growth. Part of the problem now in Japan, part of the problem now in Japan, they did not allow immigration. They've got an aging society, their economy can't grow because they've got an average of 2.5 children per household. Now, they're only trying to open up now, and no one wants to go to Japan, so that you can attract people, you can attract skills, you can attract consumers. There's a lot of movement of people that you need to do. So the ANC is the only organization that understands society, that has struggled for 106 years, over 106 years, to be where we are. Our Mafikizolo can come and tell us that they've got solutions of problems that they say were caused by the ANC. The ANC, yes, it did not do everything to the best, or what could be done to the best that we could do, but it does not mean that we have not moved forward. We don't understand what needs to be done. So people must have faith in the ANC. They must criticize us, but they must give us solutions as well. And we are the party for the people. We are their party.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for your time and thank you for sharing the knowledge that you have. That was the ANC Greater Johannesburg Chair, Jeff Makhubo, just explaining that Johannesburg is a city of immigrant people. A lot still needs to change. The ANC has taken time to reflect on some of its internal problems, and now the ANC is ready to govern the city. It is still 1912 on radio. The pulse 10 minutes just after 11. It's the Freedom Square show. Don't go anywhere.